Mr. Ambassador, welcome to Marrakesh.
Thank you very much.
Policy Center for the New South. You are an old and very welcome guest of this wonderful think tank. The question I have is concerning the destabilization of the world at this moment. The question is, why are the Arabs, or it seems to be, hesitant in criticizing China for its treatment of Muslim minorities, and the Arab states are not really very much advancing criticism towards Moscow's invasion of Ukraine? Is that an impression I have, or is it fact?
Well, yeah, you asked two different questions, and let me start by Moscow-Ukraine stuff. The Arabs are sticking to the principles of the United Nations Charter, non-interference of internal affairs of other member states, territorial integrity of others, and all the principles that are governing international law, international humanitarian law, and the international human rights law. That's why when the 11th special session of the General Assembly was convened, all Arab countries almost voted in favor of Resolution 11.1, which is condemning Russian invasion of Ukraine as invasion of the territorial integrity of Ukraine, and all of this.
But at another vote, they abstained.
Yes, I'm coming to that. On the second vote was on Resolution 2 related to humanitarian situation and the need to establish proper conditions for humanitarian assistance to flow into Ukraine, because Russia was cutting at that time some of the flows that are coming from Europe to Ukraine as supplies, as humanitarian supplies. Of course, the Russians had their own concerns that this might be weapons, this might not be supplies, so they had this in mind, but the Arab countries also voted in favor of the resolution on the humanitarian assistance. Came also the resolution on the expulsion of Russia from the Human Rights Council. The Arabs voted in favor of the resolution on that Russia, even though Russia withdrew itself from the Human Rights Council in the election before that. Yeah, so they knew that there is nothing new in this resolution, but they voted in favor of this resolution. Then came the resolution, the last resolution on assessment of damages that are going to come, the assessment of damages that happened in Ukraine as a result of the invasion of the Russian Federation. And this resolution is a very controversial resolution from many counts for Arab countries.
But which one is the major one for the Arab countries?
The one that this is the major ones for the Arab countries. First of all, is the double standards. That there has been a fund that has been established when Iraq invaded Kuwait, and the Security Council established a compensation fund and to assess the damages and to pay the damages. Arab countries supported, and there was a resolution in the Arab League to support, and the Security Council endorsed, and they established this commission from 1980 up till now. It just finished 4 days before the invasion by the Russian Federation. 4 days, on the 20th of January, the Security Council closed this commission because it finished its job after paying approximately about $365 billion compensations to those who have suffered from the Iraqi invasion to Kuwait. And that is the legitimate way in order to do it. But the double standard is when ICJ adopted a resolution, a decision in 2004 about the separating wall in Palestine and about the need to compensate the Palestinians for suffering from the separating wall. It established a commission, and the commission was based in Vienna, and the commission assessed the damages But no one is even calling for votes to be for. No one is even calling for paying compensations. No one is even raising a finger saying that we should seize assets by whomever caused this in Israel or in anywhere.
But wouldn't that be logic? That, for example, the Russians are asked to pay damages to a nation they destroyed for no particular reason, which may be a war crime.
It might be logic, but it requires certain stages to be taken. First of all, there has to be a judgment by a neutral party.
Sure.
It's exactly like the latest statement by the head of the European Commission saying that there has to be a special tribunal for the atrocities that have been committed by Russia in Ukraine.
Are the Arab nations
The Arab nations are saying yes, we agree to the establishment, but why do we establish a new tribunal? There is the ICC, International Criminal Court, and it can do the job. And not only the atrocities that have been committed by Russians against Ukrainians, by Ukrainians against Russians as well. Because there are evidences, and these evidences are documented by the commissioner, the High Commissioner for Human Rights of the United Nations, that Russian soldiers have been killed by Ukrainian soldiers.
Yes, there have been reports.
And there have been reports, and you must have seen some videos of this on the social media.
Sure, but there's no doubt.
It is not a one-way. It is a two-way traffic. If you want to apply law, particular international law, it has to be a two-way traffic. Justice has to prevail on everybody, not in favor of one party against another party. That's why one of the ways why are they hesitant, the Arabs. The second is.
But the Africans as well.
The Africans, yeah, most of the non-aligned, mostly those who do not want to fall in between the two big powers,
but
Americans.
But the non-aligned are just opportunists. They're afraid of their weapons and their commercial contacts with Moscow.
Not to that extent. Not to that extent. No. But there are other considerations. It's not only the double standard. It is. If you establish this in the General Assembly, who is going to be in charge of the calculation of the damage? Are we waiting for the European Union to come up to say that we are establishing a committee to start working on the damages? No. Are we waiting for the European Union to establish a commission to assess the damages? All the speculations are there are 300 billion US dollars Russian assets abroad in Europe and in the United States.
Frozen. Yes.
So they want to take it and they want to pay it for the reconstruction. Fine, but do it the proper way. Assess the responsibility, get a judgment or a court order or a Security Council resolution, then get a commission, a neutral commission, established from 6-8 member states, as we did with the Commission of Iraq, Kuwait, and then start making the assessment. Nobody is going to object. Nobody would be even able to be hesitant in doing that.
In not criticizing so openly the Russian invasion, you explained it very well. Can you explain to the viewers the consequences for Arab countries through the war, let's say the delivery of corn and wheat and so on? Are there other consequences for Arab nations which are hurting the Arab economies?
No, there are no other consequences to the Arab nations except that the traditional relations between Arab countries and Russia. Many of Arab nationals have been given grants and educated in Russia. Russia is helping many Arab countries in the field of peaceful uses of nuclear energy, establishment of nuclear power plants in supplying weed, supplying oil in preferential prices, and all those also are relations. And Middle Eastern countries do not want to fall into the trap of the Cold War again. Should I be with the East or should I be with the West? We want to be balanced. It's not only Middle Eastern. It is, if you look at the Security Council, as was mentioned today by the speaker from Mexico, the honorable foreign minister, former foreign minister from Mexico, he said that even Brazil, even India, are hesitant. It's not only Middle East. It is the developing world. They don't want to harm their own interest. Even China. China is not backing Russia all the way.
They're now starting to.
China is 2 steps, 3 steps back behind those who support Russia, and it's not supporting the West at the same time. It's calling for cool, calm, and peaceful settlement. But the main question that comes in mind at all of this is, who is going to settle this? If the UN is not an acceptable partner, because the Secretary General came up with some statements that Russia did not like, because it corresponds to international law and to what has been made. So the $1 million question is, who is going to solve it politically? We are not a humanitarian organization in the UN. I work for the Arab League, but I represent the Arab League into the UN. The UN is not a humanitarian organization only. The UN is a peacemaking and peace-building organization.
Why is Erdogan of Turkey able to be active between the Russians and the Europeans, or and one doesn't see anything from Egypt or from Saudi Arabia or any Arab country trying to get involved in the peace process? Or is that just an imagination?
No, the Arab Minister of Council of Ministers, adopted a resolution and established a commission from 6 foreign ministers. It's headed by the Secretary General of the Arab League, Ahmed Abulgate, and it has the ministers from Egypt, Algeria, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Sudan, and Iraq. 6. And they went and met with the Russians in Moscow, and they went and met with the Ukrainians in Hungary, because they couldn't go to Ukraine for some reason. And we had meetings with the 2 sides in New York, on the margins of the high-level week, where all presidents and the heads of states, and so we are active. And this is the 3rd meeting that happened in New York as an Arab League. We are active, and we had a meeting with the Foreign Minister Lavrov, and the 6 ministers were there. And the very interesting question that was asked by Minister Lavrov was, "Thank you very much, ministers, for interfering. We very much appreciate the work that you're doing. But have you spoken to the Americans?" So the Commission answered, "No, we did not talk to the Americans, because our mandate is to mediate between Russia and Ukraine." And he said, "But our problem is not with Ukraine. Our problem, if you leave it to us and Ukraine, we will settle it."
We'll wipe
No,
Ukraine
we will
off the
settle
map.
it. We will settle it on our terms that we used to settle before. It is the support, the massive support coming. It is the satellites that are being used and to photo our troops and given to others. It is the massive weaponry that is coming. Weaponry is coming fine, but we are a nuclear weapon state. So it is a catch-22.
Yes, that's right.
It is a catch-22. I mean, we're trying our best as the Arab League, but our ability to be partners or intermediators between Russia and the United States is really
difficult.
difficult.
Let me ask you, final question. because you didn't answer my question.
What?
China
Yeah.
and the camps and the repression of Muslim minorities.
Yes.
It is not high on the agenda of Arab governments in public. I don't know in private. Is there more in private?
It is high on the agenda of the Arab countries and within the context of the OIC.
Okay.
Of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The ministers have already adopted resolution on this, and they established also a delegation that went to China to talk to the Chinese authorities about the need to respect the Muslim minorities and to deal better. And I think Saudi Arabia in particular is playing a very significant role in this kind of mediation with China.
With any results?
I am not sure. I have not been following this bilateral track because it happens through the headquarters in Cairo. I'm located in New York. But what I'm sure of is that was part maybe of the negotiations that happened in the summit in Riyadh. Also one of the things that have been discussed.
Ambassador, thank you very much. I hope we find peace, and I hope you come back next year.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.